Welcome back to the Unwracked Podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Barry. I'm joined by my co-host, Kyle Wilkes. And today we have special guest, Chris Tuttle. Chris, how you doing, man?
What's going on, guys?
Hello, Chris. It's a Friday. We're all getting ready to probably prep our athletes for Saturday shows. I know you probably got a couple in the Northeast, right, Chris?
I was just answering their post-meal 2 carb up day 2 today, just a second ago.
Right. How about you, Kyle? How many you got this weekend?
Two.
Yeah, I've got 5. 2 in Florida, 3 at the New England's, which is, for anyone listening, that's kind of like the fall version of the Cutler. Me and Chris probably either both did it a number of times or have coached 150 people each that have done the show.
Yeah. I've never done that in New England's before, believe it or not. I did the Cutler in the spring.
Same, yeah.
That's what I did. Yeah.
I always liked the spring shows better for some reason. I did the Cutler a couple times. I did Atlantic States a couple times, and then I did do the Eastern USA's 2018. You probably did. You did Atlantics, right?
Yeah, I did Atlantics once. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Nice. So, last couple days, I've just been seeing what's happening with bodybuilding. I've seen some of my friends who are good coaches that are having their athletes leave them, and I kind of see like this trend where today's world, it's like you only get like one short shot with an athlete, and then they move on because the grass is greener to someone else. And I thought, well, okay, who's this happening to? I got a couple friends in my circle. Let's get these guys on and let's talk about it. So obviously, it's no secret, Kyle, Nick has left you this week, and Chris, you had a very short bout with James Hollingshead. I believe one show only. What do you guys want to? How do you guys want to start this? Like, what do you think about that?
Well, simple. It comes with the territory of being a coach. Things don't always work out, and it sucks. And sometimes you expect maybe a certain level of communication or courtesy, I would say, with something. Because, there's a difference between, I think, negligence within being a coach, right? You're negligent, you drop the ball. Like, as in you weren't present, you weren't doing this. I get it. But I mean, and prepping people, as anybody who knows, who preps people on a regular basis, nobody's batting 1,000. You're not taking the same guy and having 100% look every single time. There's not one bodybuilder in history that's done that. Even the most best genetics, they're sometimes, they came in 5 pounds lighter. Oh, they weren't quite as full as they were Arnold. Oh, they were this. And that's just the name of the game. Like, that's what it is. But you're always trying to battle and get the body to do what you want it to do. And sometimes it doesn't work out quite like that. And unfortunately, like, especially if you're working with somebody new, you do have to learn them, especially if it's, hey, help me 13 weeks out. I got to, what can you do? Oh, shit, let's see what we can do and make the best of the look you can achieve in that time, and then make adjustments. Because how many times, even after a show, your client wins, you're like, you already know what you're going to do differently, right? Mm-hmm. It's like Tampa Pro, when Jordan won Tampa Pro, I was not happy with his peak for prejudging. I was ecstatic for the night show. And then Tyler Manning comes backstage. He goes, Chris, congratulations on a perfect peak. And in my head, I'm like, that wasn't perfect. I'm like, you kidding me? In my head, I'm like, I know what I did wrong. And I'm going to we still won, but there's still adjustments to be made for Texas. And then we did. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, like, that's how I look at, like, working with somebody over a time. Whether you win or you do not, there's adjustments to be made. Period.
That kind of goes to, like, a judge might tell you look perfect, but you, the coach, has seen the athlete look better. And the coach might give feedback even. Oh, you need to bring him in fuller, or you need to bring him in drier. But the real thing is that for a lot of these athletes, these judges don't really know what an athlete looks like full. They don't really know what they look like flat, like the coach does, right? Mm. So when they're giving it, I always say, like, let's get that post-show, feedback, but let's take it with a big grain of salt, because they might really just be telling you need a lot more muscle when they're saying come in fuller, or right. Something like that nature. But just the fact that, like, these athletes today, it seems like, and maybe it's because there's just so many coaching options now. There's and I'll say there's a lot of good coaching options, but then there's also some sub-tier coaching options as well. But I think when you're a professional coach, you have a reputation of, like, I think you mentioned it, Chris, like, your communication is, like, top notch. You're getting back to your athletes. You're not making them to wait 2 or 3 days for a response. But it seems like athletes are just making these quick decisions. And Kyle, maybe you could speak to this. I feel like I've noticed Nick changes, like, coaches. He changes brands, supplements, like, pretty quickly. Is that something you picked up, and was that something maybe was in the back of your mind when you took him on? Like, let me know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I mean, Nick does what Nick does, right? And what I mean by that is I don't control his decisions. Yes, I think some of them are clearly sometimes a little bit irrational, emotional, right? And the reality is when I was taking him on, I naively in one hand thought, being that we were good friends back in the day, maybe this would be the end of the road, right? And hey, I'm going to get him to the promised land, things will work out. But the reality is he burned me once 3 years ago and kind of overlooked it. I don't even remember how we rekindled other than me maybe reaching out, wishing him luck or something like that. And this time around, I thought otherwise, and that's what, it sucked. And Andrew, obviously when I got the phone call, we were doing a podcast.
Yeah.
And you heard firsthand the conversation and how cold it was. And, to say I was surprised, I was, but then I wasn't, because I think back to 3 years ago, this is exactly how Nick operates, and that's what burned me the most, more so because there was no explanation. And then, when there was a comment made on the call regarding the fact that he did not like how he looked at Pittsburgh, to me, I don't even have words for that. That's just more of like, you know what, man? Okay. You didn't like how you looked at Pittsburgh. That was your best look in the modern era. You might never look better than that, if I'm being completely honest. And that was the closest you got to beating the best bodybuilder on the planet right now, right? Derek. So if you didn't like that, I don't know how to help you, because that is the look I want to go for, because I think that's what's going to put you in the best position to win. But yeah, it's just, it's been an emotional week when all that happened for me. And it sucks. It comes with the territory, as Chris said. You kind of know what you're signing up for,
Being emotionally invested in your clients makes it hard. I'm not going to tell what coach told me this, but I understand why he said this. He says, Chris, as you progress in coaching, don't get too attached. And I go, what do you mean? And he's like, don't get emotionally attached to any of your clients. He goes, don't. He goes, you're going to be greatly disappointed. And I'm like, now I get it. I understand. You know what I mean? Like, there's been situations with people that, I forgave them and they end up coming back to me and we end up working out and we end up winning after the fact. But like, it still stings a bit because we do expect a level of courtesy that the problem is the way we are, we have expectations on how we would behave. And then if somebody doesn't do the same, that's where it hurts. That's where it stings, right? You're like, oh, I didn't expect that because I wouldn't have done that. But everybody's different, and I always have to remind myself of that too. Sometimes it's just like, it's not that I'm surprised. I'm not surprised that I'm surprised, because that's just kind of how it goes with people sometimes, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's like we're a team throughout this process until we don't get the favorable result, and then it's coach's fault, right? Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of that. The simple move for the athlete is, instead of saying, you know what, there's a lot of things in this prep I probably could have done differently. I could have adhered better. I could have listened. I could have listened when you said, hey, I want you to eat this food choice instead of eating the one that I'm comfortable with. You could have listened to your coach, especially if it's something that maybe the coaches make a decision on the food choice to try to control gut size, for instance, food vacuum size. But yeah, I was on that call with you, Kyle, and I did hear. I mean, it's hard to put into words because it's like it was a cold call. It was like, especially knowing that the view was that you guys were close. The view was that you guys were a unit, you guys were a team, and then just to see that call, which I got to give credit, there was a phone call. There wasn't just a simple text message of, hey, bro, I've decided to go a different direction. Mm-hmm. So I got to give a little bit of credit there. But it's like, you had two great showings this year. You came within arguably a coin flip of beating the current Mr. Olympia. I believe our VP said that he preferred Nick over Derek on that day. The internet was going a buzz with like 85% of people saying that they had Nick winning and beating Derek on that show. So unless all these, 85% of the bodybuilding world, my eyes, your eyes, most of the judges' eyes are wrong, why would you leave someone with one bad showing out of three? It just kind of, is it just as simple, the grass is always greener, or you're only as good as what you've done for me yesterday?
And I think it's tough to say, right? Sometimes I think, when we're in an emotional state post-show, I always try to put myself, and you guys are both athletes as well, you don't make the best decisions sometimes, or you don't think you look as good as you do, and then weeks later you're like, oh, I actually did look pretty good here. So I don't know if it was something that someone got in his ear, but the fact is, because we had such a, what I thought was a solid foundation, the communication aspect would be, hey, Kyle, I heard this. Do you care to explain? Something like that I feel like I was at least owed, and that's what bothered me the most. Coupled with, like you said, I think people will sometimes forget. May just happened. We had fantastic showings. Yes, the Olympia, we didn't hit the mark, but at the same time, the reality is I was speaking to, someone like Ian and someone that has a good eye for the sport. He wasn't that bad either, and he came back pretty good for finals, and the reality is that still didn't move him. So that's what I think people miss, or people point out that, hey, like, you guys turned it around. And it's just like, yeah, we turned it around, but that still wasn't actually going to do anything. There's more things that were going on.
Yeah. It's funny because we always talk about the Olympia being a 2-day show, for instance. And I feel like Phil Heath got a lot of credit in his career. Mr. Saturday Night, he'd show up even better. And, he was usually winning the prejudging, but it was just a solidified, like, absolutely he's winning this one. Yeah. But I think we've seen some point changes between prejudging and finals over some of the last Olympias, with, oh, so-and-so is probably going to win this one. And then, oh, shit, Hottie snuck it out, or Derek snuck it out, or whatever it might be, I mean, for this particular Olympia, I don't know about you guys, but I was like going neck and neck, and I actually had Hottie winning. I thought Hottie was going to win at the end of the day. I just thought he was a better package. You too, Chris? Yeah, tell me about what you saw.
My eyes kept going to Hottie over and over again.
Yeah.
Over and over again.
Yeah.
I actually think that Hottie's physique is prettier.
I did too that day. Like, I really did.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think what you said, my eyes kept on going to him. That's what bodybuilding is, right? Like, it's who you can't take your eyes off, and then you judge everyone else based off that guy. And it's like, we call the pose the front double bicep, the side chest, or whatever it might be. But it's like, no, we're judging the whole physique. It's like, some guy just has this extra aura that day that, like, that there's a reason why he's in the middle.
Yeah.
So, Chris, getting back to you and James, remind me. So, you guys had about 13 weeks to prep for this show?
Yeah.
All right. So, for anyone that knows, especially, and the other thing I want to point out is, to me, it looked like James had downsized with his previous coach. Like, he looks like he had lost some tissue. Is that something you saw in your analysis?
So, I don't listen, I don't follow people, so I don't know what's going on prior to. I didn't know he was working with Stefan. I didn't even know. I don't know. I focus on my guys and what I'm doing. And when he came to me, he's like, hey, I'm pretty upset about my last showing. I worked with, Stefan, and it didn't work out. And then he did Detroit after the fact, and he's like, I ended up being kind of watery, but I was much bigger on stage. And I'm like, okay. So, I'm looking at him and seeing the body fat that we need to bring down. He goes, do you think it's possible? I do think it's possible. Let's try to systematically bring this weight down and checking every day and making sure that we are progressing how we need to and feed you as you need. And he's like, okay. And I'm looking at the fat he has, and I'm like, he's got very shallow abs. So one of the problems that was of my concern was being conditioned enough where he actually looks like he's conditioned from the front because of the shallow abs. Mm-hmm. So, I was bring his weight down. We maintained training performance pretty well. Obviously some loss off the top strength, which is normal. But got him down to 263-ish around 4 weeks out. And then I was like, maybe 3 weeks out. And then I'm like, I like this look. This is a good look. It's decent, just to carb up from. But the midsection is what bothers me, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes the lack of midsection control in the poses. So I was like, let's pull you down just a little bit more and see if it gets better. I got him down to 259, and it got worse. That wasn't a good look. So I fed him back up to 263. And I'm like, we're going to hold here and then carb up from here. And at this point, condition was really good overall. And now, do I see lean tissue lost in that prep? I didn't, because I had what I had at the time.
Okay.
I just don't feel that we lost tissue. The gear didn't really change. He was already on the amount of gear that he was running. And we made some minor tweaks at the end. But ultimately, I fed him when I needed to feed him. And systematically, weight would come down. But I don't think lean tissue was lost. I really don't. And in my overall assessment of everything, I thought that was a pretty good package for France. I mean, we solved his digestion issue. We solved the tan issue. I tanned him because his tan was always muddy. And
how many coats did you do? Because I heard 9 coats.
2, 4, 6, So, it's about 6 to 9 coats, I believe. We did 2 coats each night, starting Wednesday, maybe 3 coats, so 5. I think it was 7 to 8 coats. Yeah,
That's wild. So
yeah,
you flew out there. You're personally making sure his tan, because that was something that's always hurt him, right? His tan has always been bad.
Dude, I just want to solve every problem there was. And like the problem was tan. The problem was he's either too watery or he's too flat. And I'm like, okay, so let's figure all this out. And I feel that we had a good balance of both. Was he super full? No. He definitely was not flat. And he was definitely conditioned. He's been in a long time on stage. And I thought his color was good. Posing needed work for sure. And then, we come out of that show and he's like, man, like, I just can't be this conditioned. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like, what do you want to do? He's like, I think we should, I'm okay with being less defined and fuller. I'm like, we can do that. So we had a plan to implement exactly that. And this is the thing, dude. And this is where it is. It's like, we have a plan we both agreed on. And obviously coming out of a show with crappy tan on your skin, and him concerned with not being full enough, I fed him pretty aggressively right off the rip, right? And obviously bring his weight way up and then start to taper it back down, right? I'm not going to like feed him 30 extra carbs a day. Hopefully that fullness will come back. It's like blast him hard and then bring it back down, since we had 14 days. And he was happy with everything that's going on until I guess he saw his friend, and his friend goes, "You look like shit. You look like shit." And then that's apparently when he lost, in my opinion, because he never told me this, he lost all confidence in what we're doing. But the bottom line is, like, if your friend preps people and understands what we're doing, that would make sense. Because most people 2 to 3 days post-show don't look great.
Yeah.
They're maybe even on the little flatter side and watery subcutaneous skin, and the skin is splotchy from the tan, and you have hair stubble come in, and you look like crap. And ultimately, like, we had a plan, what we're going to change with orals, what we're going to change with the AIs, and what we're going to weigh on stage. And our goal to be on stage is going to be like 273 from 266, which I thought ultimately would be probably pretty close to what he looked like now. But also, I did think he was a little watery, but he was definitely fuller. But like, I said to him, like, and this is honest, like, we can't fill up muscle that's not there. Like, you can't be a strided full 278 that's not there. Like,
you know how many times I've said that to a client? Like, sorry to cut you off, but it's like, when there's just constantly, I need to be fuller. It's like, look, guy, I can't fill what's not there, bro. Like, I can't, you don't have the tissue there.
Right. And like, listen, I was totally in agreement with communication with him. And like, he told me he was poor with communication, and Yannicka told me too. And like, dude, listen, in hindsight, like, I wouldn't have honestly changed anything, because it was learning what we needed to do. I mean, when we peaked him, no diuretic, I didn't cut water, and his food was super high. When I say high, it was absurd. And we were just eating absurdity amount of food, and he was tolerating all of it, and he was getting fuller, and we wanted to be on stage. I thought he should be on stage around 266, and that's what he was, which is not small. But, ultimately that's not the look he wanted, which was fine. And we made an agreement to come in again, what we did. And like, dude, in hindsight, like, if he just said to me, and he still hasn't talked to me yet, and if he just said to me with an email, "Hey man, I don't like the direction we're going. I'm uncomfortable the way I look. I'm going to take another approach, and I'm going to use a coach that's close to me in UK. Thank you." I'd still be bothered, but not like it was now, because the email I did receive was just, all good love. Thank you for everything you've done. Like, you're awesome. I just don't know what I'm doing. Like, I'm just confused on what to do. I just don't know. I'm like, I don't know. Are you saying you don't want to coach? I don't know. So like, dude, I had said very nice things back, and that was it. And then like, it sucks, because like, luckily I booked my flight the day before, and you can cancel in 24 hours without getting a refund, because I was going to fly out to UK the day after Vegas and stay with James for the entire duration of almost the 2 weeks, just to make sure everything went well. But he's my friend, like, I wanted him to do well, and I'm 100% confident. I'm not a cocky person, Andrew. You know me. No. I'm 100% confident we would have brought the package that was better than France in regards to fullness, with less condition, and not be watery in stage. I'm fully confident in that. Like, it's not rocket science to take somebody who's already shredded and make them a little bit fuller 2 weeks later. That's the easiest thing you could possibly do.
That's a gift wrapping.
Yeah.
The other thing is every person that turns pro, they got to have a certain level of genetics, right? But then there's levels to the genetics as you get farther up the ladder. is it possible that sometimes these guys just don't realize maybe I'm capped out genetically? Like maybe I'm trying to mold something that just the Play-Doh's already used. You know what I'm saying? Like all the tools have already been done. It's not like, well, you get a new athlete, they've only used PEDs, they've never used GH. Okay, that's another leveler, right? Maybe they've never trained any different than the way their first coach taught them. Okay, we can teach them some other stuff. But what I see is like, I think this is the reason these guys jump from coach to coach is they just think the next guy has that one secret that's going to make me win the show, be an Olympian, you know. And that's all. The other thing is, I mean, how old is James now? He's not a young guy anymore. His best years are probably on behind him, you know. And I'm not saying that disrespectfully. I'm just saying like every bodybuilder has a shelf life, right? And I can say the same thing about Nick. You know, Nick's a muscular guy. He gets hard grainy, but the thing that's always going to hold him back is structure, right? He's never going to have the structure of a Derek or even a Hottie or an Andrew Jack or any of those other guys, which at this level, like every detail matters. You know, the beauty of the shoulder to waist ratio, the length of the limbs, the muscle insertions, all those things matter more and more and more. So I just think sometimes these guys overlook like, man, this guy's got me looking the best I possibly can. This is the icing on the cake for me. This is as good as it probably is going to get. Let's give him some more time, see if we can tweak a few things within my variables to make me better and better.
Oh, dude, that's it. And like, what about like the thing about it is like, dude, just tell me, like, communicate with me, please. Like, that's it, and say that so I'm not surprised. And like, it just upset me. It's like what upset me the most about it when I all of a sudden he's another coach. I'm like, all the things that we learned, what to do, is now falling right in the lap of somebody else.
Yeah.
Like it's incredibly irritating. Like, you know what I mean? Like, incredibly irritating. It's like we knew exactly what to do with the AIs, what we're going to change with the orals, what we're going to change with the food, what we're going to weigh. We knew we weren't going to use a diuretic. Like, we knew exactly what we were going to do.
Yeah.
Like that part gets me. It's like, great. What we've learned now, just pass it on to somebody else, you know?
Yeah. So I want to switch directions a little bit because, you know, I'm seeing stuff online. I'm hearing people in podcasts saying that Nick was out of shape. And as someone that was like privy to the pictures, you know, being friends with you, Kyle, seeing them regularly, giving a little bit of feedback, I just want to post a few up here. And, you know, I think the people need to see. I mean, is that out of shape? How far out was this, Nick? Kyle?
This was Sunday before we flew out.
Okay. I mean, is he out of shape in any stretch? Like, what?
No. And arguably, like I said, this look here, the detail we have here, was better, right, than what we might have presented a week later. Obviously, the complexion of the skin's a little different here. The lighting's a little different. But,
Yeah.
you know, I think the reality is I try to look back and I always try to say, okay, like, what could I have done better? Because to me, even if we win, it's like, okay, as you said earlier, Chris, where can we be better? What did we learn from it, right? There's always lessons to be learned. And I looked at it like, okay, I think he could have been a smidge leaner. I think the weight that we put on strictly was to the upper body, wasn't helpful. And then there's obviously clearly an issue with our gut, right? And that is not going to help someone that already has problems with said gut to begin with. So, you know, it's when I see people say that coupled with, you know, I can't tell you how many messages I got from Friday night. Nick is flat.
Dude.
I said, okay, thank you. Right? They're like, you have to feed him. You have to feed even people close to his circle. Oh, he's flat. He needs food. Okay, cool. Do you know how many carbs I gave Nick
On
Saturday?
100.
100 carbs. Okay.
Yeah.
All I gave him was fluids because I knew the reality of the situation. I knew what I did for Pittsburgh. Now, arguably for New York, I wanted to push the fullness a little bit, and it was coming off. We had 6 days to turn it around, so it was a little different to kind of fill someone out and bring them back down, especially as my first time with them. But I knew it was a fluid thing. And again, my normal process where I kind of went out and put my neck out there and said, hey, I'm a rookie, right? I kind of just went out there and said that. The process of shifting the timeline is what the problem was. I pulled water a little too early where I knew he needed fluid. So all I gave him Saturday, we went to the gym in the morning, did a pump workout. I gave him some proteins and fats and fluids. And he just consistently got better and better and better. And I knew looking back at the day before, where he peaked was mid-afternoon after 3 meals based on when I had cut water. And so I knew what to fix. And that's why there was such a substantial change Friday into Saturday. So to me, you know, and even we agreed, we knew exactly what to do moving forward. And that's what kills me is like, We agreed with the game plan. We sat on a FaceTime Tuesday night after the Olympia. We knew exactly what we were going to do. He wants to do the Arnold, right? And these are the things that we need to improve upon. Other than, fixing the peak, there were some other variables that I alluded to in a video that also needed to be addressed.
So I just want to put one thing up, okay? Because you shared this with me. That was, I think, right after meal 3, if I'm not mistaken. To me, I think, was that right before or right after?
I got to check back. Hold on.
I remember seeing that and said, okay, this is perfect. Like, I think if he would have presented this on stage, I think I told you, I think he just was a little overcarbed, spilled just a little bit.
Yeah.
And the remedy was pull the food, flush the water, get him to the gym, get him moving some of that glycogen around, right? Mm-hmm. And I think the look on Saturday night was much, much better, Yeah. But, another thing I wanted to share was because you alluded to, you had a conversation about the game plan afterwards, right? Which every coach and athlete should do. You made your video, which I think you took way more of the blame than you should have. I know what you were doing. You were trying to take the heat off your athlete and, let him kind of save some face, which, any good coach is going to do, right? Let's take the blame for it and let's regroup. And then Nick writes "not done" in capitals, which you're going to take as like, okay, we're on the same page, we're a team, we're doing this together. So when you saw that, you probably were like, okay, like we're in a good place, right? Like we're.
So from a timing perspective, that was October 14th, right? So that was Monday of when we got back from Vegas. There was no inkling from either side of him being done. We said goodbye in Vegas. Love you, bro. Talk to you soon. We know what we're going to do. If anything, he got me out of the mood because after going into Saturday and even Sunday, I was a little gloomy. I'm like, damn, I feel like he could have been a little bit better. The reality is, I think we all see the posing, we see the tan. Those are problems, right? They were going to hold him back no matter what. Mm-hmm. And again, you also had guys that they had these X frames. They were kind of on, so they weren't missing either. So now it's like, hey, who do we like better? But again, I'm like, okay, we could have probably been maybe top 4, right? Could have been in that comparison potentially. Mm-hmm. But from a timing perspective, I made the video, yes, to take heat off my athlete, and I'm not ever going to throw anyone under the bus. I'll always take the fall for it. That's just what I do. I'll step in front of the bullet. However, at some point thereafter, when we met on the Tuesday, we spoke, we had a game plan. We were totally cool with one another. There was no problems at all. So that's not bullshit on his part where he wrote "not done." There was nothing. Something changed from Tuesday into Wednesday. I don't know if there was an individual that got in his ear, suggested to do otherwise. If there was something they said that, hey, maybe Kyle said this. The reality is it's bullshit. Talk to me about it, right? Man to man, communicate. That's the most important thing. And I think sometimes as adults, again, we go through emotions. We don't communicate properly. And that's what irks me because for me, I'm so big on communicating. If I had a problem with you, Chris, with you, Andrew, hey, I heard something. Make me feel better. Tell me, even if you said it, just tell me to my face why you said it so I understand and I can move forward. And that is where the shift happens. So when people are saying, oh, he was firing Kyle already. No, he wasn't. It was a drastic shift in 24 hours to where we were doing a podcast and then I got the phone call and I'm just like, okay, cool. I could see what something changed here and it's just like a helpless feeling. So that's what sucks, man. Like I said, I drove myself up a wall trying to figure out the whys, but sometimes the best answer is no answer, and there's nothing I can do about it,
Yeah. Getting back to James, Chris, were there any difficulties coaching him, from a physique standpoint or a coaching standpoint, anything to mention?
The obstacles right away were the digestion issues. He had chronic digestion issues, which we fixed honestly within 10 days. That's what I do.
Yeah.
So we addressed it and fixed it right away. That was no longer a problem. We watched his digestion very carefully on the high days. No extra distension unless he had 3 high days in a row. Then it was a little hard for him to manage the midsection control. But we mitigated that, not a problem. He did hurt his leg training, and I did give him advice on how to handle that. And it was most likely glute med. Your glute med doesn't fire right. Sometimes you can get outer pain of the leg and your IT band pain. So he addressed that. We kind of made do with it. We couldn't really train legs very well for a couple weeks, mitigated that. But all in all, James was honestly easy to prep. I didn't have any issues other than him trying to get him to communicate a little bit with how he's feeling because he's not used to that. Like, how you feeling? Fine. I'm like, are you sure? I'm a little tired. Oh, okay. Well, how much tired? Like, are you getting more tired as 3 days go on? Like, is it going from like a 5 level fatigue to like a 10 over 3 days? Like, I that helps me understand like where you're at nutritionally, and especially with the body weight trend. Like, if your body weight goes down a few pounds and you're feeling fantastic and you're looking fantastic and training's awesome, then like I might just leave it for a little bit. But if that's accompanied with fatigue and all these other things are going on, I might feed you a little bit. So I need to know that. That was the only struggle. But honestly, dude, I love James. He was easy to prep. Everything was fine. It was not a problem, and until it wasn't. And like, listen, I still wish him the best. Like, I just hope whoever he stays with, he just stays with that damn person, whether it goes well or not. Because you have to systematically learn with the progression of what to change every show moving forward. And unfortunately, he has a track record of bailing on every single coach after a prep, and that's not good for him. Like, he did tell me, like, or Yannicka did, that like, this is not about friends, this is just business. It's straight business, which I understand. If it's about business, then like, you're gonna have to make a better situation with business, because the track record is not, it's not going well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he has great physique, he's got a ton of muscularity, he can do very well, but there has to be a level of systematic progression with one person. There has to be.
It kind of reminds me, like, we're all NFL fans, right? And you see, like, say the New York Jets or the Browns, they're constantly going through coaching changes, right? And then that coach wants to implement their system, and then they fire the coach after a year and a half because he doesn't produce 16 wins in a season, and they're just constantly going through that progression, spinning the wheels. And it's been like, what, 20-something years between either of those teams since they've had a winning season. So switching your coaches, instead of giving a guy time to learn your physique, figure out what mistakes we made with that last showing and improve on it, communication, all those things, like, the grass isn't always greener. Kyle, how about you? Like, were there any difficulties with like coaching Nick, things that like you would want to do differently, things that like maybe he preferred to do versus what you would normally prefer, or was he like a soldier and said, yep, whatever you say?
So knowing Nick from back in the day, right, I know he is a creature of habit, so there are certain things that he was taught that he likes to do, and they go against what I normally do, right? So for the most part, going into Pittsburgh, he was very receptive to adjusting things from an AI perspective. I'm big on using Aromacin over Arimidex, and so perhaps toward the tail end of prep, and then I'll make the switch if needed. So that was something that, going to the Olympia, Arimidex wanted to be used earlier against what I preferred, right? So it's like, okay, we're going to make that change. From a food standpoint, I think, when you have these muscular guys like a James, like a Nick, anyone really over 250 pounds, to feed these monsters, they need a lot of food, and you can't just eat rice. And I've stressed that numerous times. I like to use different sources, whether it be fruits, dry carbs, things of that nature. So going into Pittsburgh, I had more variety of foods I could use than I did for the Olympia. Now, the reality is, I think, because Nick had missed the last 2 Olympias, there's some trauma, PTSD of things going wrong. So let me kind of just go back to my shell of what I'm comfortable with. And looking back, I should have been more of the authority figure saying, no, you're either doing this or I'm not fucking helping you. And I didn't, right? So that's where it's just like, okay, like I'll do my best. It's not what I advise, but I'll go with it. And I remember having that conversation vividly when we were 2 weeks out and I found out he wasn't eating, beef and things of that nature. I wasn't aware of that. So it's like, okay, let me try to figure out how to make up these fats without just using one fat source. So I think it's tough, right? So to navigate that, as Chris said, you can only navigate the information you're given. We're mind readers to a degree. We can kind of read through the lines, but if we're not being told something, it's hard to make changes. So that's...
Well, for reference, before you move on, we're talking, we're saying X amount of grams of rice, a wet carbohydrate typically. You wanted to make sure you're controlling gut. Gut control is a paramount thing for you to make sure that when he's on stage next to these guys who are absolutely controlling their guts. Derek does a great freaking job of that. Hottie does a great job of that. Andrew Jack doesn't have one. Samson does a great job, right? I mean, I look at Andrew Jack sometimes and I'm like, dude, that's his gut right there. It's like my pinky when I hold it up to the screen, Yeah. But it's like you're making these decisions not because it's something you prefer just out of left field. There's a reason why, right? Like you're trying to control a variable that athlete needs to control.
Absolutely. And again, I look at it like these guys that are switching coaches, You're not switching coaches because you're winning. You're switching coaches because you didn't get to where you want to yet. And again, I wish moving forward, we forget, I guess, the last performance. That's what we base everything off of. But instead of looking at it like, okay, we gathered this data. Did I do everything I was supposed to? No. Okay. Maybe I should give this person a chance, right? And it goes two ways, right? Maybe, Chris, you can think of things where you might have made different decisions, but you didn't know that until you kind of made the mistake and you learn from it, right? So that's why when I said in my video, I don't make the same mistake twice, because I literally am like analytical. I take the data and I say, okay, this shit didn't work. I know what to do next time. And it's just like, okay, moving forward, I know we can't use this food because for Nick, his biggest critique has always been his midsection control. Whether it's in his posing or just how his structure is, he has to control that. And if he doesn't, we know no matter how he's peaked, no matter if the 10 is on correctly or not, he won't be able to hold his own versus a guy like Andrew who, yes, the gut, I don't know where the hell it went, but it doesn't exist.
Well, what's the first thing I texted you when he came out on stage and you're like, feedback? And I'm like, he's got to pull that midsection in from the minute he walks on stage. Like, and I feel that's a presentation thing, not just a GI food related thing. It's like, dude, you are the show. Like, people are paying $1,500 to sit in those front row seats to see you, right? We're all buying the live stream at $80 a pop to watch you. You got to put on the show, and part of that show is coming out there, gut in, posing well, moving well in between shots. And that's not just a criticism of Nick, because I see other athletes do it too.
For sure.
So but it's just like the showmanship, right? If this is our best show of the year, the best production of the year, the athlete needs to play their part and do that. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, no, yeah, and obviously, it makes it harder to hold the gut in if there is digestion issues going on, clearly. But no, it's important stage. And the thing about midsection control with bigger guys, it's like I tell my bigger guys all the time, like, dude, you have to be. That's like the number one priority of your whole off-season training. Yeah. Because if you really think about this, if your entire physique gets better and your stomach gets worse, you just become a worse bodybuilder. Yeah. Like, legitimately. It's like I had that talk with Jordan, a couple other bigger guys. I'm like, dude, every day you're the 10 minutes you walk into the gym, you're doing X, Y, Z core and bracing movements like your life depends on it. And you're going to put effort into that like you put effort into training your chest. You know what I'm saying? Like, I need full effort there, not just brushing it off, because it's always apparent when someone doesn't. I mean, dude, look at Hadi and Derek's control. I remember Jordan goes, dude, we're all getting tanned, and like Derek's stomach is like glued to his spine permanently. Yeah. Like, I'm just watching him walk by, like, I've never seen something that's like so impressive in person, and like him bending down, moving around, his stomach didn't move. Yeah. It's like it's completely plastered to his spine. I'm like, that's not just genetics. Like, that's like he's really working that. I mean, shit, 2 years ago, Derek wasn't even hitting an ab and thigh, remember? Yeah. He was just sucking it in. He got criticized so bad, now he had to change to do an ab and thigh. And he's pulling it off.
That's true. I think a big thing is, and it becomes really evident when you're in the hotel room the day before, posing a client before every meal, and you say something like, dude, pull your abs in. Like, your quarter turns, pull your abs in. And they're like, there's like a second where you kind of see a little flutter, but then like it doesn't, the shape doesn't really change. It's still out, and you're like, oh, you haven't been doing the work. You haven't been doing the vacuums that I've been telling you to do from day one. And you can kind of hide that in pictures, right? Because you're not actually moving in front of your coach. You're sending them pictures, stills usually, right? But then it becomes very apparent. You're like, well, we got some work to do. Or even like, dude, you got to hit your legs in this shot, because as soon as you pull your arms up, you're losing that connection. And if you were posing 6 days a week like I asked you to do, that would have already been locked into your brain. So what's going on here right now? Is this something new, or did you just not do the work?
It's a dumb problem to have.
At the pro level? At the pro level, it's ridiculous, right? Like, your one job is to go out there for 10 minutes on stage and look good, I mean, you got to lift weights and eat the food, but it's like the one time the world sees you and judges you where you earn your paycheck is where you go out on stage and you show us what you got. And I don't know, some people just aren't cut out.
That midsection is like the centerpiece of the physique.
Yeah.
Like, when someone has a sick midsection, you're like, whoa, look at this dude's silhouette. This is fucking nuts. And then you get like, dude, think about back in the 90s, right? Even like some poses, and you see the pose without the midsection, like, this guy's nuts. And then you see him in the front relaxed in the front of a bicep, and you're like, oh, Jesus. you know what I mean?
One thing you can't hide, especially once you fatigue, if you don't have posing stamina, which is what we see when they're posing those guys over and over. Some of them get harder, some of them start to get tired, and they just can't hit the pose the same way. So now it's like, hey, again, it has nothing to do from a coach's perspective. We can't pose for you.
Yeah.
And that's the challenging part. It's like, hey, we can tweak things, but that's on you. You're going to lose if you can't hold the pose.
Yeah. Well, and in that moment when they're on stage, you can't be like, "Hey, judge, time out," like you can in football, and be like, I need to get my team together for a second so we can come up with the next play." There's not. It's like we just shot the wad. Like it's done. You know. Yeah. So I guess what I'm trying to say is to bring this full circle is that a coach does a great job. They can only do so much. Like, they're not the one going out there. And I feel like sometimes the coach wants it more than the athlete does, or wants the perfection more than the athlete does. And at the end of the day, the coach is the one that kind of gets the blame when things aren't perfect. And did you guys have any closing thoughts on that statement?
Kyle, you want to go first?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I knew what I was signing up for. So emotions aside, I knew any bad performance would probably have a detrimental outcome. But I did think, being that this wasn't the first show, if this was the first show, regardless if it was Olympia, I would expect, like, okay, I'm canned. See you guys later. But because we had such a phenomenal comeback, I was like, hey, like, we know what to fix here. We made the adjustments. I think it works. But I think sometimes when you're a coach, it's just, we can rack our brains and say what we would have done differently. But at the end of the day, it comes down to having a common goal at hand, to where it's like, hey, we're in this relationship and partnership. Did we do everything? And it's different when the athlete is 125%, hey, I did every single thing. And only the athlete knows. When you go under the stage lights, they know if they missed cardio, if they cheated on their diet, the things they shouldn't have done, did they prep their skin for the tan? All these little things matter. And when you can't confidently say that, to me, don't just point the finger, right? Take some accountability and say, hey, I could be better in X, Y, and Z. I will be better. We will be better. And that's the thing. It's like, I'm always about putting others first. And that's, I guess, why I love coaching, because I want to see the best in people. But at the same time, in instances like this, it royally sucks,
Like you said, Kyle, it comes with the territory, meaning it's going to happen. The highs and lows of coaching, it will. And the thing is, the thing, I had people reach out to me and they're like, dude, detach yourself. I'm not going to still. I'm going to continue to doing what I'm doing, exactly how I've been doing it. And I'm going to expect that it's probably going to happen again at some point. And I'm okay with that. Because people like these guys, Christian, Jesse, Dom, Jordan, Guzman, a whole bunch of my guys have been with them for like 5+ years. Those fuckers make it worth it. Yeah. Because we're making straight progress all the time. And we built relationships. We fucking chill after the show, after we win. That's what it's about. And that's all I'm going to say. I mean, I'm going to do the best I can. I am going to change a few things, though. Like, already, I'm onboarded some other pros, classic guys. And I said to them flat out, I need a high level of communication. And I made examples of what I need. And I go, if I don't feel like I'm going to have this, we're going to part ways. As in, I'm going to part ways with you. Okay? I always be very clear. I need this communication. This isn't just like, yes, sir, no, sir, dictatorship coaching. I don't like working that way. I want to know where your head's at all times. We'll come up with a plan together. We'll execute it, and we'll work on it together. That's what I want. But, like, that's it. And obviously, again, it's still going to be, it is what it is.
It's almost like, you get dumped or you get in a horrible relationship. It's like, but you're still going to go out and look for love again. You're still going to get back on that
time. But, I mean, I wouldn't, as you said, Chris, like, I'll make a few changes, but it's what made me me. Caring, going above and beyond, and putting my neck out there. I'm going to still do that. I'm not going to think twice, because if I start to change those things, or if a pro comes to me and they're like, hey, I want to work with you. If I start to think of, well, what about when the divorce happens? I'm not going to be acting the same, right? So I'm not going to be naive. I'm going to look for things along the way. And it's just like, hey, I need to treat people. I made a joke. I don't know which one of you I was talking to, but like, kind of like a local level guy. Hey, you need to eat this. Give me your feedback. But until I get that feedback, this is what you're doing. If you don't want to do it, cool. I can't help you anymore, because there's nothing I can do, right? I'm asking you to do something so I can get some kind of data from it. There's a reason behind the madness.
Yeah.
Awesome. Chris, thanks a lot for joining us today, man. I know you're just as busy as we are. And I know, you got shows coming up this weekend. You probably have people getting ready for nationals and whatnot. But it's always good to see you. Always good to talk to you. And with that, guys, we're Unwracked. Yeah, dude, I updated a client email a second ago. he messaged me, and he's like, post meal 2. I had to click his pictures real quick. I'm going to leave this on this. I'm going to leave this on here.